Hello, good afternoon and good evening, everybody. How are y'all doing? Hope we're all having a good old time. Welcome to the Death Chamber. How's it going? I'm chilling. Buenas tardes. Bienvenidos. How's it going? A lot better now, honestly. I think I'm ready to get back into the swing of things. And I promised myself I'd get this script done before the end of the month, and the end of the month is rapidly approaching. Thankfully, hopefully it shouldn't take me that much longer to get this done. Ah, Yuri. Our favorite purple-haired maiden of mystery in JQilin Literature Club. Favorite maiden of mystery in JQilin Literature Club. However, I think the biggest mystery about Yuri is how misrepresented she is by the DDLC community at large. She has the least amount of character-driven stories when compared to the other girls, and when she is added to the story, or when she is added to a story, she is either non-existent, or mischaracterized to the point of parody. So I went into another deep dive in DDLC to find out who the real Yuri actually is, and to see how far the community has missed the mark. By the end of this video, we will see who Yuri truly is, why she can't be trusted, and why Act 1 and Act 2 Yuri are more related than you think. You won't look at Yuri the same way again. Hey Crypto, welcome to the live stream. Get rid of that, actually. More related than you think. Hi, by the way. If you're new to the channel and don't know who I am, my name is... I'm currently on a transit bus going home while watching this. Well, I hope you're jamming out to the music at least. Let it ride! Let it ride! Yeah, there's been a lot of letting it ride for the last couple days, hasn't there been, Xavier? Oh, actually, let me go up. Who do people think Yuri is? Based on my 6 years of playing and reviewing DDLC mods, I've seen Yuri fall into these main archetypes. The uwu shy, socially anxious girl, the vanilla wallflower, the cardboard cutout, the preacher, damsel in distress, walking dictionary, or the dumb, aggressive yandere. And back to the regularly scheduled programming, just like that. Well, I mean, hey, I don't know what you want. We did, Xavier. We did the thing. We did the thing. That's it. We did the thing. What else do we got to do? Yuri is Violet Parr. Tell me I'm wrong for thinking they look alike. Why? Because they have long hair that covers their eyes. Is that why? Guys thought we were obsessed, so we really just had a point to prove. Yeah. Now we Lara. And that they're both shy. Ah, see, Crypto, but that's where you're mistaken. Yuri is not as shy as Violet Parr from The Incredibles. Some of these iterations of Yuri are better than others, mind you. However, after reviewing Yuri from base DDLC, I've come to the realization that Yuri is a much different animal than how she is portrayed in base DDLC. Oh no, how she's portrayed in DDLC mods for the last 8.5 years at the time you're recording this. Hey Nikicha. Also, this would be the last time I let this song play before I put on something else. I just like listening to it. See, some of these iterations of Yuri are better than others, mind you. However, after reviewing Yuri from base DDLC, I've come to the realization that Yuri is a much different animal from how she is compared in DDLC mods for the last 8.5 years at the time you're recording this. Put on white girl music. Sunny, what is white girl music? So this begs the question, who is Yuri actually? For starters, Yuri actually is not a socially anxious character at all. She's barely even shy once you really observe how she moves in the base game. Yuri is the first person to greet us in the literature club. This already is antithetical to the idea of Yuri being very socially anxious, as why would a socially anxious person be the first one to greet a stranger they don't even know? Which actually makes me think of what Kian's doing for his new project, because he's writing a very socially anxious character, and his character could barely walk up to somebody and start a conversation. So if that's the case, why would Yuri be the first person to greet MC as soon as he walks in the club room? Just kind of makes you wonder. Don't worry, you won't get rickrolled, but you probably will get copyrighted. Can barely walk, let alone apologize. In fact, the first time I see Yuri being quote shy or anxious is when Sayori offers an absolute of a compliment about Yuri to MC. We will discuss why that is in a moment. Hey Doki guy, welcome to the stream. Yuri is a very methodical person. She likes to think a lot before speaking. This can be seen as a blessing and a curse depending how you look at it. She enjoys stories that have a high level of creativity and craftsmanship. Stories with deep and complex fantasy worlds that tell a good narrative, test the reader, or weave in psychological elements. In Act 1, she admits to getting into horror. However, for Yuri, it's less about the specific genre and more about how the story itself makes her think and feel. Yuri is the type of person who enjoys being challenged by the material she consumes. Surreal horror is often very successful at changing the way you look at the world, if only for a brief moment. Yuri, while not always one to speak, not always one to speak. Change this around. Not always one to. Oh. Alright chat, how we all doing today? Let's get some W's in the chat. Let's hear how everybody's doing today. And be sure to hit the like button on your way in, por favor. Love to see a Yuri project in the works. Well, Nikicha, you'd be happy to know that I'm actually giving a different story a shout out, because I'm using a different story to talk about Yuri in this video. Just past McDonald's with the American flag. You know, that's what's up. Why no, Crypto? You said you're on the bus home. All on 17 black. All on 17 black. Alright, I did say that would be the last time I play the music. I just like it though. Shoot. I'll put this on though. Just got shopping done. Life is lifing. Alright, that's what's up, Sonny. Let me make sure the music isn't too loud. There you go. Howdy, Tag. How we doing? Good to see you, brother. Welcome back to some regularly scheduled programming. Okay, let's see, where was I? Where was I? I think I was... Oh, here we go. Yuri, while not always one to speak, is involved in many a conversation and will volunteer to give an opinion when needed. This again is antithetical to the community perception of Yuri being socially anxious. In fact, Yuri approaches MC and asks him what kind of things he likes to read. Yuri is quite opinionated and has no qualms about letting you know what is on her mind. The main hiccup for her is constantly ensuring what comes out of her mouth is as palatable as possible, until it's not. Yuri is quite opinionated and has no qualms about letting you know what is on her mind. The main hiccup for her is constantly ensuring what comes out of her mouth is as palatable as possible, until it's not. Yuri has an incredible depth to her that I think most people do not appreciate about her, and it shows in how Yuri is used as a prop or as a mouthpiece at times. This also feels like just getting done burying a corpse and then heading to the bar with the boys. Look. It's like I said. Whatever happens at this point is not my concern. It's not my concern. I'm just going back to business as usual. If people want to start problems, that's on them. I'm just here trying to live La Vida. I'm just trying to live life. But we did what we had to do, and we saw it through without exception. Yuri's mischaracterization is so severe that it would probably work if it was applied to an OC. Well, I mean, OCs are blank slates, so you could characterize them however you want, so I suppose you're correct, Camping. I would agree. Yuri has an incredible depth to her that I think most people do not appreciate about her, and it shows in how Yuri is used as a prop or as a mouthpiece at times. The coolest aspect of Yuri's character is how she thinks and relates to other people. Yuri's entire character revolves around her selectivity in revealing her vulnerabilities and showing even the deepest reaches of her heart. Alright, see screenshot 125 for reference. Yuri is an entire world of vulnerabilities and quirks that she is keeping under lock and key to prevent others from getting the wrong idea of her, or getting overwhelmed by what she has to offer to prevent scaring people away or looking like a freak. Idea. What she... to prevent others from getting up. Yuri has an entire world of vulnerabilities and quirks that she keeps that she is keeping. Well, actually, that she keeps under lock and key to prevent others from getting the wrong idea of her. Period. It also prevents people. Let's see. Yuri has an entire world of vulnerabilities and quirks that she keeps under lock and key to prevent others from getting the wrong idea of her. It also prevents people getting overwhelmed by what she has to offer. Getting overwhelmed by what she has to offer prevents scaring people away or looking like a freak. I agree with Yuri has depth that most people don't appreciate. Yuri is used as a background character more than one of the main characters in a lot of stories. No, exactly. Why do you think Yuri just exists became one of the most used spots in the bingo card? Got me the non-alcoholic beer. Welcome, Uncle Fred. Glad you could join us with your non-alcoholic beer. Yuri has an entire world of vulnerabilities and quirks that she keeps under lock and key to prevent others from getting the wrong idea of her. It also prevents people getting overwhelmed by what she has to offer. Being overwhelmed or offer or okay, I think this is better. It also prevents people getting overwhelmed by what she has to offer, or scaring people away, or looking like a freak. It also prevents people getting overwhelmed by what she has to offer, or scaring people away, or looking like a freak. Actually, no, by her. There's a better way to phrase it, actually. Either that or her Act 2 portrayals are basically, you know, Gaslight 2.0. Well, Yuri, well, Act 2 Yuri kind of breaches you know, Gaslight, but again, that's what a lot of people get wrong, Kevin, and that's what I'm going to be touching on. I'm going to be touching on that in this section right here, where I go over Act 1 Yuri versus Act 2 Yuri. Right now, I'm just going over who Yuri actually is, based off of what I learned from the game. Yuri has an entire world of vulnerabilities and quirks that she keeps under lock and key to prevent others from getting the wrong idea of her. It also prevents people getting overwhelmed by her intensity, or scaring people away, or looking like a freak. Total Dave's death. Hello, ASN. Welcome to the stream, buddy. How about that? Alright, hold on, guys. I need to go get a package from the mail. Alright, I'm back. Hey, you guys are gonna be in for a treat. You're gonna have 3 videos in the span of 2 months. Bet you guys have never seen so much action before on the JQilin channel, but we're here to deliver. Let's see, where was I? Let it ride! Yes, sir. Okay, here we go. This is where it was. One of the most fascinating aspects of Yuri's character is the way her mind works and how she perceives the world around her. Didn't I just say this earlier? Okay, I can... Okay, there we go. That makes more sense. I think I also use one. Okay, well, let me use... one of the most... Okay. I didn't use it that often. Alright. One of the most fascinating aspects of Yuri's character is how she perceives the world around her. She talks about how she finds the story of the Portrait of Markov. Actually, it's not even the Portrait of Markov, it's just Portrait of Markov. She talks about how she finds the story of Portrait of Markov relatable. At first, this comes across as a shock to the system. However, upon further reflection, it opens her eyes to Yuri's psyche. She is very particular about who she can trust, and if opening herself up can end up ruining However, upon further reflection, it opens your eyes to Yuri's psyche. She is very particular about whom she can trust, and if opening herself up can result in ruining her relationships with others, no matter how hard she tries. Oh, I know what song this is. Oh, that's cool. Let's see. She's very particular about whom she can trust, and if opening herself up can result in ruining her relationships with others, no matter, despite. I'm gonna change no matter to despite. She is very particular about whom she can trust, and if opening herself up can result in ruining her relationships with others, despite how hard she tries to keep them going. Okay, I'm gonna put a period there. She also questions if opening herself up can result in ruining her relationships with others, despite how hard she tries to keep them going. She enjoys stories like these because, again, she enjoys being challenged to look at things from a new perspective that she never considered before. Hey, Kian. Welcome to the live stream. Just trying to work out the kinks in this script here. And so far, reading it out loud has helped me finding new ways of fixing things and restructuring sentences. I'm also working on my script. That's what's up, Keen. That's what's up. Some positive productivity going on today in the chat. That's what I like. She enjoys stories like these because, again, she enjoys being challenged to look at things from a new perspective that she never considered before. This goes to show that Yuri not only spends a lot of time in her head, but also is very observant to the people around her and likes to study them. And likes to study them to see what she can learn from them. Wait, J Money, how long have you been here? I don't think I said hi to you. Oh, you just showed up. Hey, J Money. That's why I didn't. Because now I have to restructure all these notes that were stream of consciousness into actual sentences. That Yuri not only speaks her mind, but it is also very observant of the people around her. I'll put a period here. She likes to study them to see what she can learn from them and what it says about and what it can say about herself. For the Yuri project, for the shout-out for doing God's work these days, I'm also hit the donor link because I mixed it too. Thank you to Keisha for the €250. By the way, I already slept well because I'm going to start my internship in an hour in advance. That does explain why you're up so late. Good luck with your internship, Finn. She likes to study them to see what she can learn from them. She likes to study people to see what she can learn from them. What it may say. She likes to study people to see what she can learn from them and what it may say about herself. Yuri is a very insightful character, and her insightfulness speaks towards her intelligence that Sarah alluded to in the beginning when she called Yuri the smartest in the club. I would say this highlights Yuri's in Yuri can truly be. This highlights how insightful Yuri can truly be, and her insightfulness speaks towards her intelligence. That Sarah alluded to. Oh, so I didn't have space in the special message to say this, but link in the description. I donated 420. Lamau. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Oh, here we go. This highlights how insightful Yuri can truly be, and her insightfulness speaks towards her intelligence that Sarah alluded to when she called Yuri the smartest in the club. Just getting back to the community. Hey, every little bit helps. Your boy needs to be able to keep the lights on. I need to be able to pay my editors. I need to be able to pay my voice actors. This stuff doesn't come cheap. And if I want to be able to make more content faster in the future, then any and all support is greatly appreciative. Genuine question. Do you think people having Yuri discuss the portrait of Markov in mods is overdone? It's as overdone as cupcakes being the only thing Natsuki knows how to make. Like, people don't know how to let Yuri read other books. They don't even know how to let Yuri be an artist, because we know that Yuri likes to paint. We know that she likes to write kanji, so she could probably draw if she could paint too. Nobody's ever done that before. Let's see. People don't let Natsuki bake other things. I've very rarely seen people let Natsuki bake other things. I know in Triple Trouble, Natsuki doesn't even make a single cupcake. She bakes lemon squares, tiramisu, and whatever else. They just stick to the formula because the base game said this happens, so we must stick to what base game says. There's just a lot of limitations. Yuri slowly getting into astrology. I could believe Yuri getting into astrology. A lot of the time, people think that's the only thing she reads. No, for real. I feel the modded community forgot there's nothing wrong with being original and making new things. No offense. Why did you say no offense to that? You only say no offense if what you're saying might seem offensive to the person you're speaking to. Dan, just give me an idea for a mod like Yuri and the protagonist decide to make a visual novel mod, and Yuri as the artist and the protagonist as the coder. See, that's why in the JoJo series I have planned, Yuri's stand ability is related to her ability to draw. Just to explore that aspect of Yuri's character. Biggest sin with Portrait of Markov is that it is explicitly referencing the ARG in DDLC. She can read other shit too. Yeah, I'll put this on. Workout coffee. I am melancholy. Oh, there are a bunch of bangers here. Okay. Let it ride. Yuri's the kind of person to have a guard up until she gets wrapped up with something she's passionate about. Once that happens, she loosens up and allows herself to be open and say what she truly thinks and feels. However, this is something that she will do unconsciously or with the MC. Sounds way more interesting than this bond we share. A lot of things are more interesting than this bond we share, Kian. Not sure why, but when I look at Yuri, I feel she could do gardening as a hobby. Possibly. I mean, who's to say she couldn't? I can see Sayori also wanting to be a gardener, but she would just get dirt all over her. But she'd have a good time doing it too. I also feel that modern DDLC mods get so many things wrong with how the characters are presented in the base game, which is some understandable. I had to struggle to it during a different story. Well, Nikicha, that's why I'm trying to make this video. After the Sayori video did so well, people wanted me to do the other girls, so here I am. Slightly different note, I think Yuri would be the type to enjoy Silent Hill and Castlevania. Well, Yuri would enjoy Silent Hill and Castlevania, well, especially Silent Hill for the psychological aspects of it. If there were books. I don't know if Yuri would get into playing video games, but maybe Silent Hill and Castlevania would be like Yuri's gateway into video games. I had an idea for Natsuki. My idea is that she wants to make her own comic / manga. I do want to have manga included, but do my own twist on it. I forget who did it, but someone else had. Oh, I think it was Relapse. I think Relapse did it where Natsuki wanted to make her own manga, and she tried to become a mangaka. If it's not Relapse, then it's my bad. I know somebody else came up with that idea before, but. You could do that too, Kian. I think you could have Natsuki want to be her own mangaka. That's 110% believable. We also know that Natsuki is impressionable enough to do such a thing, because even in base game, Natsuki said she got into baking because of Parfait Girls. So, who's to say she wouldn't want to get into making a manga because she loves manga so much? I think that'd be a lot of fun, truth be told. Yuri opens up to MC about one of her quirks. She admits to him that she has a tendency to ignore, for lack of a better term, the people around her when her thoughts get consumed by the books and by the books and writings she reads. By books and writing. I think this will be. That's better. I wonder what games Sarah would enjoy. I feel Minecraft or Tomodachi Life. Tomodachi Life 100. Tomodachi Life, Animal Crossing. I think once Sarah got the hang of Minecraft, she'd probably like Minecraft too, but Stardew Valley. I could see Sayori being a Stardew Valley kind of girl. Sayori might also play Marvel Rivals too, but she would like to play the support. She would like to play as Jeff the Land Shark, or maybe Rocket Raccoon. Harvest Moon came to mind. Natsuki will love Call of Duty. Oh, Natsuki will like Mario Kart. She will like Kirby. Natsuki will love Pokemon. Actually, I could definitely see that. Actually, no, it'd be fun if Natsuki and Yuri got into. If Natsuki and Yuri both got into Pokemon, and they decided to Pokemon battle each other, I think that'd be That would be hilarious. That would make for a cute 1 to 5 minute video. You may have given me an idea. I don't know, little stuff like that is fun because it's a new way to bring in IPs that people know while also making the characters feel, you know, like people. How ironic! I'm playing Modern Warfare 2 Remastered now. Haven't seen any pink-haired gremlins yet. Because I mean, as a break, I wonder what Monica would play. Monica would probably play like Fire Emblem. Tetris, Pac-Man 99. To quote DeWalt, Monica, I think Monica would also play Mario Kart and be like really good at it. I know Afro Zero had Monica play Super Smash Brothers, but she would always lose and get really upset, which was kind of funny. What else? Xavier, do you think Monica would play Age of Empires? I feel like Monica would play AoE 3. I just see like Monica leaning more towards strategy games. Now I suddenly want to write a segment in Fresh Start where everybody just plays Mario Kart. Thanks, Jay. Hey, happy to help. She does have that mind. I'm glad you agree, Doki guy. I think so. Actually, you know what? I'll make that Friday's community post. What video games do you think each girl plays? That'll be Friday's community post, and I'll see what people have to. I'll see what people have to respond to that. I feel like Natsuki would hate hard/rage games. Yeah, Uncle Fred, you know what I want to do now just because you said that? I want to have Natsuki play Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy or Jump King and just have the slow descent into madness over time. Yuri would play Silent Hill, Resident Evil. She might play Outlast Until Dawn. She'd play Corpse Party. Honestly, low-key, I feel like Yuri would be more into visual novels than like video games, since she likes to read and be immersed into her own little world. Low-key. But if we're gonna talk about interactive video games, then yeah, Silent Hill, Resident Evil. I'm in agreement with Castlevania, so I'm in agreement with those. Would Yuri actually? Yeah, you know what? Thank you, Kian. That's a good. I agree with that. Yuri would enjoy Majora's Mask because Majora's Mask does everything that Yuri says she would like. Deep, complex fantasy worlds that have a lot of lore in them. That's brilliant, actually. Maybe someone could draw Natsuki over it. I would want to draw. I would love to animate Natsuki over Markiplier playing Getting Over It, because I think he had the funniest reaction to the game, in my opinion. You can open it. Oh, here we go. Yuri opens up to MC about one of her quirks. How would Yuri act if she played an intentionally dumb game like Conquer or Anton? She would say that this is something Natsuki would enjoy, and then Natsuki would get angry, and then they both would tussle. That's what would happen. Because Yuri would be like, oh, this is so beneath me. I'm too mature. Sarah would love Anton Blast, probably. Oh, yeah. Anton Blast, Pizza Tower. Sarah would like games like that, for sure. Not sure Natsuki would like Anton, but no, that's the point. That's the point, Uncle Fred, that Yuri would say that because Yuri would think it's dumb. Yuri thinks Natsuki likes dumb things. And Natsuki would be like, what are you talking about? I don't like this. I'd say Sarah would find Crash Bandicoot just to find the death scenes. You want Sarah to cry? I think Sarah would cry if she saw Crash Bandicoot die too many times. She'd be like, no, what did I do wrong? Come back. And so Yuri opens up to MC about one of her quirks. She admits to him that she has a tendency to ignore the people around her when her thoughts get consumed by books and writings. This insinuates that Yuri is a feast or famine kind of girl. She throws herself into something she is very passionate about and puts other things to the side. She has yet to learn how to control this part of her personality and compartmentalize the different interests of her life. What I find interesting about this moment here is that Yuri is self-aware enough to realize this quirk of hers is that while Yuri is Yuri's self-aware enough to realize this quirk of hers. Okay, so I'll put a period there, and then I will capitalize this. She can openly admit to MC, which is huge in terms of her opening up herself to him. Opening herself up. She can openly admit to MC this. She could openly admit this to MC, which is huge in terms of opening herself up to him, and further emphasizes the point I made previously about wanting to get close to him and being selective about whom she reveals herself to. Did I actually say that earlier? Yeah, I didn't even say that earlier. Would Yuri like Toby Fox games? I think Natsuki would be more into Undertale and Deltarune, to be honest with you. I feel like the more magical element of Undertale, the cute characters, the poppy music. I can see Yuri liking Deltarune and Natsuki liking Undertale. Okay. And then they both fight about which one's better. They both fight about which one's better, and then they come to agreement that they're both just great games made by a good creator. And then they come to a mutual understanding because of it, like side story style. Not gonna lie, I think she would like the Toby Fox games for the story mainly, even though maybe even relate to some of the characters. Yeah, chat is cooking today. Chat is cooking today, I must say. I think I need to point and say wants to be close. Okay, then I think MC. I have MC now. Not gonna lie, it seems the video could take 6 to 7 days to come out. It depends on how quickly I finish the script, and it depends on how quickly it could get edited. If I finish the script by the end of the month, MC DDLC, I think the video will be out by mid-February. So, there's that. Natsuki would definitely love Stray. I would say anything that's cute. Anything that's cute, girly, or fun, they will like. Well, I'll be damned. Well, I'll be damned. Look at Trevor became a member to the game. Look at Trevor became a member. Look at Thank you, Nikisha. Thank you. What's core? Keeper of reality. One of my favorite mods to come out of this community in the last almost 9 years, in the last 8.5 years. I remember that mod because it's one of the few to have a unique art style. Indeed. All the sprites and CGs hand drawn by one guy. It's a mod I'd recommend anyone to play, especially Act 1. Maki the beef type animal. I need to get back to where I was before. I think I was here. Okay, I think this fits better. Let's see. She can openly admit this to MC. She can openly admit this to MC, which is huge in terms of opening herself up to him. Okay, I think there. Jay, you and Xavier are two people I trust with writing tips, so I gotta ask, what would your opinion be on the scenario in the story not being realistic or believable, but was written really well? A scenario in the story not being realistic or believable, but was written really well. I mean, there are a lot of instances like that in fiction, Tag, right? I mean, there's a lot of fiction out there that has things that occur that would never happen in real life, but it was done well enough that it's but it's done really well. What matters is the context of the story that you're reading. The context and the setting of the story is important because it suspends your disbelief in that you're wanting to excuse it because the story explained things in a way that makes sense to you. For example, in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in Part 3, they introduced stands, which are essentially ghosts or like spirits that come out of your body and they could fight each other. JoJo does a good job at explaining the logic behind stands, how they function, what they can and can't do. And since you're under the pretense of, okay, this is a fictional show with fictional characters that have fictional powers, they explain how these powers work, and throughout the story, they keep to the rules of the power system that they created, and they don't break the rules. That's the key part. That's the key thing. Once you create the system, you can't break the rules of that system. Otherwise, you're gonna have people start asking questions. So the stand system works well, despite it being unrealistic, because the logic is consistent. The logic makes sense. Oh, hey, Miles. Speaking of writing, I started sending my comics to the D-Court. Thank you, Uncle Frail. We'll all be happy to take a look at them. So Tad, to give you another example of where this doesn't work is, or to give you an example of something that's not realistic and not written well, is Jujutsu Kaisen. I started watching JJK last night. I couldn't even get through the second episode before I just said I can't do this anymore. And the reason I say that is because in the logic of JJK, in the first episode, they say, "Oh, we need to find these cursed items because these cursed items have these strange powers that make whoever holds them stronger. But if people misuse these cursed items, then it might open up like evil that normal people can't handle, right?" So you have the main character's story, Itadori, who tries to save his friends from the said evil that happened when you misuse a curse item. And Itadori decides, oh, let me take this curse item that this other guy named Megumi is trying to prevent me from having. Let me eat it so I can have enough curse energy to save my friends from the evil curse monsters. So he eats the thing. So he eats the cursed object. He fuses with the cursed object and becomes a megalomaniacal demon man who wants to take over the world and subjugate women and children. In the second episode, we're introduced to the cool guy of the story, Satoru Gojo. And Gojo says to Itadori, so you ingested the curse item. There are 20 of these things, and we have 6 of them currently. They're so strong that we can't destroy them with our magic. The only way we could destroy the cursed item is if the wielder of the cursed item dies, and then the cursed item will die with the wielder. So Itadori, what we're going to do for you is we're going to have you could either die with one of the cursed items, or we could give you all 20 of the cursed items once we find them and then kill you, so the curse will be gone for good. To be honest, cursed energy has too many outlets for me to fully appreciate the concept. No, see, Miles, here's where they lost me. So I said, okay, so all these 20 cursed objects belong to Sukuna, the megalomaniacal demon man that's inside of Itadori, right? Yes. Okay. So if Itadori were to consume more fingers from Sukuna, wouldn't Sukuna get stronger the more cursed energy he has? Yes. Okay, so what happens? Because the whole reason they're doing this is because Gojo thinks he's so strong that he could take on a full-powered Sukuna and still win. That's where the whole, nah, I'd win meme comes from, right? That hurt my head. That sounds convoluted. That's because it is convoluted, Tyler. It is convoluted. But wait, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So, okay, so Gojo thinks he could take on full-powered Sukuna. Okay. What if you can't? What if you can't take on full-powered Sukuna? Then what happens? Because you have a megalomaniacal demon man who's at his full strength, can take over his host body, wants to subjugate women and children, and destroy the entire world. There's a reason he was split up into all these different pieces. What happens if the strongest guy in the verse can't defeat him? And you know what? Gojo loses later on in the story. So knowing what I know what happens later on in JJK, when I got to the second episode, I was like, this is stupid. The whole premise of the show fails. Like, I don't care how good the animation is for the show. If you're telling me that the whole story is let's make the bad guy stronger and just assume the good guy's strong enough to beat him because he never faced anybody that strong in his life, just to find out he ends up losing to him later on, I'm not gonna waste my time watching 4 seasons, 40 episodes of this. It's a miracle the show even got to that point. So many questions that didn't need to be there in just 2 episodes. To tag, there's a saying in story writing that goes, if the reader doesn't believe your story, it's because you didn't write it well. Any scenario is believable, it just depends on your skills. So exactly, yeah, tag. Bend over and kiss your ass goodbye. That's exactly the outcome of JJK. And you know what it made me realize is that JJK shares a lot of the same things that modern DDLC mods suffer from. Bad writing covered up with pretty images and shiny keys. And it hit me. I was like, wow, it's universal. People think they can make bad writing good by making it pretty, by giving you, if they give you enough things to look at, they think you'll excuse bad writing. But anybody who's consumed enough media over the years will look at this and say, I don't care how good the imagery is. This is a bad story. Now you can like it. But this is a bad story. There's no way you can excuse this. And every time I try to ask a question to see if they justify what happens, I was not given an answer to justify any of the plot holes I was able to figure out in 1.5 episodes of JJK. And at that point, I was like, I refuse to watch any more of this. This will be a waste of my time. I guess while we're on the topic of anime, how the fuck does One Piece have over 1,000 episodes for season 1? Ask the creator of One Piece why he has a bajillion manga volumes. But yeah, there you go, Tag. There's a difference between writing something that makes sense and isn't realistic versus something that doesn't make sense and isn't realistic. By the way, Sukuna was the strongest during the Heian arc, no, the Heian era which was mostly filled with farmers. That's crazy. Also, Xavier, since you're here now, I asked you earlier, do you think Monica would play Age of Empires 3? Yes or no? One Piece is the content farm of anime. Very much so, Miles. Yes, it very much is. But I would say that at least is the one content form that people love, that like though. In priority, you should focus on plot, characters, dialogue, art, scenario, etc. Yeah, I'm tired of people thinking that because your project looks pretty enough, it justifies a bad foundation. I'd rather have a crappy house on a solid foundation than a pretty skyscraper built on shifting sands. Because you could always knock down a crappy house and start over. It just takes one rumble on shifting sands to bring down a whole skyscraper. Oh no, that space needs to be there. Monaco would be a war gamer, but more like Civilization because it's a cozy game. Okay. Oh, actually, do you know what? Actually, Xavier, you know what would be funny? This probably would be like more suited for you. But I think it'd be funny if all the girls got together to play Magic the Gathering, or like Catan. I could definitely see that. I could definitely see that being fun. I'd rather watch two pixels smack against each other than most of Dragon Ball Super if it had a decent story. I don't know much about Dragon Ball Super other than it seems more convoluted than older Dragon Ball. I think Dragon Ball from the Namek Saga to the Cell Saga was probably the most compelling Dragon Ball arc. I mean, even though a lot of things about Dragon Ball feel repetitive, I think the narrative between the Namek Saga and the Cell Saga had enough cohesion and good pacing and high highs to make you feel really engaged with the story. Thank you both for the tips and explanations. You and Xavier need a podcast just on storytelling in general. Oh wait, am I being a sheep? I don't care. I mean, shoot, I mean, Xavier and I have done it already where we've just spent live stream segments giving writing advice. I was supposed to get around to... At one point, I was supposed to get around to... what was it? I was supposed to get around to editing the segments where Xavier and I are giving writing advice into their own videos. But... I think I also might get into consulting for other people, for helping other people write stories. Where people would bring drafts to me, I could review them and help give them feedback on things. So that's something I've considered doing in the future, if and when more people are interested in, like, if people are interested in something like that. By the way, any criticism for my story is welcome. First time writer after all. No, okay, no, I saw your message before, Uncle Fred. I understand. If I get a chance to look at your comic, I'll be sure to give you feedback if necessary, and I'm sure everyone else would do the same thing. And I promise I'm not gonna be harsh with my criticism, Uncle Fred. She has yet to learn how to control this part of her personality and compartmentalize the different interests of her life. What I find interesting about this moment here is that Yuri is self-aware enough to realize this quirk of hers. There you go. She's self-aware enough to realize this. There's so much in Dragon Ball Super that either gets glossed over, it just should not work as shown on screen. Or I'm not trying to write an Atla level masterpiece, but just something good and nice feeling. Hey, that's fine. Not everybody needs to write the next big thing. The whole point of writing is just putting yourself out there and learning how to say what you want to say in a way that makes people feel what you want them to feel. That's all it is. So if you learn how to do that, then you'll eventually get to the point where you could write an Avatar level masterpiece. Do you also review outlines, like offering criticism on how the story is planned before I could even start writing the first sentence? Yeah, I could also do that. I could also review an outline to see if the story, if what you're planning to write will even be worth your time or not. I could definitely do that. I mean, okay, I have a question. Would you guys be open to a live stream where I just sit down and review different things to give feedback on it? That sounds nice. Okay. I will make it an okay, then I'll make an announcement about this in I'll make an announcement about this in the I'll make a community post and I'll make a announcement in the Discord server for a feedback live stream. We'll create a queue for things to review and what we're going to look at. And people who are members or people who decide to super chat for the live stream will get their priority for what we review, or they'll get pushed to the front of the queue for things to review. So I'll let you know when that happens, and I think that would be a good time and also a fun experience for everybody. So I'm glad you guys like the idea. We'll definitely make that happen. Criticism submission stream. Oh, the hatred. Yeah, Xavier, what do we know about criticism? We're farming hate reviews and clicks. We're farming hate reviews. All we know how to do is hate. We don't care about the people. We just bully. We're big bullies. That's what it is. We're bullies. We hate you all, actually. You guys just don't get it. You're a big... Yeah, I'm just a big hater, bro. That's all I am. All I do is hate. You sound like the principal from Clone High when you do that voice. He's like, yes, I understand. All we do is hate. You know what? Now that you say that, I need to rewatch Clone High. My H and K visual. NHK. Women are a conspiracy of the NHK to make us Hikikomori forever. Never fall in love. Always stay inside. I like your funny words, Magic Man. Oh, goodness me. This is fun. This is fun. Oh, this is so cool, Nikki. I need to bring back my custom. I need to bring back my custom members icons. I had a bunch. I need more actually. I think I might want to commission somebody to make more, to make some channel icons for me and some channel emotes. Yeah, I think I'm gonna consider doing that sometime soon. That is either a normal mod or revival of an old project, which honestly I don't get why you'd want to do a revival of an old mod. Because some people think they could write it, they could do it better or add something that wasn't in the original product. I mean, one example of that is Blue Skies, because Blue Skies didn't get a Monica route, and a lot of people just wanted Blue Skies to be a bit updated with, you know, more HD sprites, maybe some more HD CGs, even though the CGs in Blue Skies I think aged pretty well, honestly. But I can see that. On unrelated note, do you plan on featuring other VNs on your channel like Ace Attorney, Totino, Higurashi? Give us a different section. Well, see, Kevin, here's a funny thing. When I started YouTube, I started YouTube making Katawa Shoujo videos. So if you go back in time, I would do that. I did do that, but to answer your question, I wouldn't be opposed to it necessarily. I just know that since my audience is primarily DDLC based, a lot of people won't come to watch me play other things that aren't DDLC related. Now, I wouldn't be opposed to streaming something time to time that isn't DDLC, of course. But I know that as long as I'm making primarily DDLC content, that's what mainly people are coming for. They're not coming for me as a person. If they were coming for me as a person, then it wouldn't matter what I do. People would just be here for me. But I'd be open to doing an Ace Attorney stream. I know I have Ace Attorney on my DS, but I'd have to find a way to get it on my PC, which should be possible. Like I was hesitant on it in the past, especially since I didn't have an audience before. But now that more and more people are subscribing to me over time, and I'm starting to build up a bit more of a following, I think I can get away with the occasional non-DDLC stream from time to time. It just depends. So I'm open to it. I just have to see when I do it. If we do other VNs, we're starting with Zato. You know what? Fair enough. You know, Xavier and I played Zato, and it was probably one of the coolest visual novels that we have seen in recent history. So yeah, we're definitely interested. We're introducing you guys to Zato if you guys haven't seen Zato already. Then after Zato is done, we could do Ace Attorney. Voice acting for Ace Attorney is going to be so much fun. You don't have the trilogy? Not on, well, maybe I could buy it on Steam. But even for my DS, I don't have the trilogy. I only have the first. I only have the first Ace Attorney game. Let me drink some water. I've been talking for a while. Is it on sale? If it is, I'll buy it after the stream is over. Speaking of VNs, I once remember my college teacher told me a story about how a student downloaded a furry dating sim on one of the computers. That's hilarious. emphasized by May earlier about being selected with whom she reveals herself to. And MC allows her to do this because he constantly reassures Yuri that she is fine the way that she is. It's not on sale? Okay. Yeah, I know that, Kian. That's the Colonel Sanders dating sim. Which, oy vey, Colonel Sanders dating sim. Critical review of Bilky Dreams. I don't think they're ready for that, Xavier. That's ball knowledge that's above everyone's pay grade. Oh, now I remember. This is just an impression of damsel in distress. Okay, I gotta think of. Something. Okay, I'm gonna go to prom. Okay, I see. I often play story-focused games with my mom, as she likes to get into stories. So I might play DDLC with her, not tell it's a horror. That's messed up, Uncle Fred. When she gets to both the jump scares, you have to tell us how that goes, though. But what this scene also reveals is that Yuri has a very difficult time processing her emotions and can get overwhelmed with them very quickly. Processing her emotions and getting overwhelmed with them very quickly. Her shyness and anxiety is really her conscious brain lagging behind her emotional impulses in conjunction to her overemphasis on keeping appearances in the public eye. If you want to learn how to write an likable, anxious character, yes, Zato is on Steam. and itch.io for free. Actually, hold on. You know, let me look at my calendar. Let's be cutting it close. So, okay, so Xavier, how about this? What if we do a Zato stream next weekend? Because I have an idea for a DDLC bot I'd like to play this week, like this Friday. But next Friday, what if we stream Zato? Would you be down for that? I had an idea for a while and thought it was grandiose. Then I remember Trouble Trouble existed. And it changed my mind. I love the world and everything in it. Yes. And you said, hell yes, Xavier. All right. Next weekend, we shall stream Zato. You know what? You know, I guess maybe to keep things fresh, we could alternate. One weekend we'll stream a DDLC. One weekend we'll do DDLC stuff. Another weekend we'll do. We could stream a different visual novel, and we'll have you guys recommend what kind of thing we play. Might consider that. All right, where it's also a bit recent considering it came out in November last year. No, Xavier and I sat down and played it before. Xavier and I sat down and played it around the time it came out, which is why we're gassing it up so much. Can I post a stream on YouTube League channel your server? You know what, Nikki, I'll do it right now. There we go. It's live. I caught onto it when the trailer had 100 views. We played it the day after the launch. Yeah. Zato is definitely worth the playtime. and Xavier and I were talking about how people can learn so much from. We found out how a lot of people can learn from it in terms of how to write for DDLC. I'll put it that way, because there's some similarities between Zato and DDLC, with like especially with how the characters are written. Also, this was the chance for a shameless promo for the server. For those of you who are not in the Killer Corner Discord server, also known as the Positivity Corner, currently, the link to it is in the description of this live stream, so be sure to come on in and join the server, join the family. That begs the question, is Yuri's brain lag a product of... Is Yuri's brain lag a product of her mental load being exerted on constantly looking presentable to the world around her? Let's say leave her thoughts in the comments below. We are all about spreading positivity here. All positivity, all truth, no negativity, and we always deliver. This is the JQilin way. Yuri can actually be very giving to the people. Yuri can actually be quite giving to the people around her, and believes in reciprocity. The closer she is to someone, the more giving she can/will be. Another reason Yuri is not socially anxious is how she tells Monika to mind her own business. When she asks why MC is going with her to get water for the tea kettle, Yuri is very blunt and straightforward with Monika. Furthermore, Yuri does not stutter, flinch, or back down from Monika when she says this. This means that Yuri really meant what she said, is not afraid of the repercussions, and is not afraid of Monika. Evidence that she even looks down at Monika too. Oh, so this is where the positivity nicknames come from, because y'all are spreading positivity? Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course. It's all about spreading positivity. We're just all a bunch of positive guys. Call us ions the way we're positively charged, bro. It's just like positivity, it always attracts negativity. Wait, hold on. Hold on. Huh? Thank you, boy. Thank you, boys. Thank you. Thank you, boys. Thank you. Oh, hello, Toffee. Welcome to the live stream. It's a pleasure to see you here. I'm glad you enjoyed the Days of Hate video. Which all I have to say is, if you guys haven't seen the Days of Hate and Days of Hate: The Untouchables, I highly recommend you go watch them. They're I'm positive you will walk away from them with a new perspective on the DDLC community. And both are absolute cinema. According to Kian, I agree with that 100%. A bit of an odd question, but how do you feel about excessively long time skips? Depends on the context. If it's justified, then, or if the time skips don't cut out something that needs to be explained, then they're fine. For example, in Triple Trouble takes place over the course of the entire school year, right? But you have multi-month time skips in Triple Trouble. But that doesn't affect the story, because everything you need for the story is explained by what you do see. You don't necessarily need to see all the events that happen in between. However, if you have a time skip and you're wondering, wait, how did this character lose an arm? Wait, this is when this character's hairstyle changed. Wait, there were 5 people before the time skip, now there are 4 people after the time skip. What happened to the 5th person? That's when time skips suck. Because they leave with more questions than answers. You never want to leave your audience with more questions than answers if you're never going to answer those questions. Otherwise, you're just going to frustrate people. Actually, let me tell this ego just so I know what I'm looking. But I hope that answered your question, Miles. But yeah, I don't feel one type way or the other about time skips. I got back after the time skip thing. Well, you can answer Miles's question then if you want to, Xavier. Give your perspective on it. This does it need? I think I exaggerate my retirement from writing mods a bit. Time skips only work either to set up the plot, that is, like, for example, Saving Private Ryan / Titanic, or to skip over stuff you already know. People use time skips, then want to say, remember that time when, like, no, I don't, and the false intrigue doesn't work on me. Gotta wave the shiny keys, Xavier Human. Gotta wave the shiny keys. Got to defuse. Defuse. Instead of having a sentence here, what I'm going to do is transition from this comments below. Speak about so when Yuri is opening. So when Yuri's opening herself up, she really... ASN always comes back. It's like the Godfather 3 where they said, every time I try to get out, they pull me back in. ASN always say no to quitting. When Yuri opens herself up, she really leans into expressing her innermost desires. Both consciously and unconsciously. One really good example of that is the reading scene she has with MC. The reading scene with the chocolates is more evidence for Yuri having feelings for MC and some evidence towards her giving into her desires and impulses. The way she keeps pushing physical boundaries with MC and how naturally she took to being fed by MC. Instinctively she wants him, but emotionally she's trying to figure out how MC feels about her and trying not to jump the gun. However, since MC does not know what he is doing, he's giving Yuri confusing signals. Despite this, Yuri is encouraging MC to keep going and keep pushing the envelope. Days of Hate 2 is already at 415 views. Xavier, it's the SEO. I'm telling you, bro, it's the SEO. That and Days of Hate 2 is not age restricted, so it could reach a wider audience. Pushing the envelope. Yeah, I think this is good actually. I like this. Ego. This is a very underrepresented / underutilized part of Yuri's character. Yuri has a tendency to always want to be right, not be taken for a fool, or be seen as the superior one. In other words, Yuri has an ego. The first instance of Yuri showing her ego is in the first time everyone exchanged poems. If you write a poem that Yuri would like, then she will believe that you are as experienced of a writer as she is and is very impressed. However, when you tell her that this is your first ever poem, she then gets upset and feels slighted that a novice could write something she was so intrigued by. As a result, she starts to pull an argument out of her butt to find things wrong with MC's poem in order to reestablish her place as the one with the knowledge and the one MC has to learn from. She also shows that she has the capacity to look down on other people. It's very subtle with the exception of Natsuki. I say this shows that she has a capacity to look down on other people. It's very subtle with the exception of Natsuki. That was rude. A company is remaking the Spaz 12? Yuri is giving very decent rival energy. Why do you think her and Natsuki butt heads so much? If you're at a opponent, you're okay, alright. Another example of her ego / looking down on others is her taking pleasure in MC missing the point of her already dumbed down poem and getting to explain the meaning of it while that jump scared the hell out of me. That did two talkies. That scared me too, but thank you, Nikisha, for the €10. So much positivity in the chat right now. This is what it's all about. This is what it's all about. I appreciate the positivity so much, guys. These last 72 hours have been nothing but straight positivity. I couldn't be any happier to be here with you guys. You guys truly make this all worthwhile. It's truly a blessing. All praises. All praises. God bless you all. It truly is a blessing to have everybody here in this chat. This channel wouldn't be the same without you guys. And if it wasn't for you guys being here, would have left this place a long time ago. Where's my channel member Discord role at? All right, ASN and Nikita, remind me at the end of the stream. Actually, oh, hold on, let me do that right now. Before I forget, let me do that right now. Since you guys are cool like that. This is the least I could do. I just need to make sure I find you guys on here. Okay. There and where are you, ASN? Roles. Okay. You have the role. All right, cool. You got the role. All right, nice. Thank you, Xavier. Is this a real JQilin live stream right now? Oh, welcome back. Welcome back, JNT. The prodigal son has returned. Welcome back to the prodigal son, JNT. Oh, here we go. This is where I was. and getting to make an example, and getting to explain the meaning of it while making yourself look like a literary genius in MC's eyes. Thumb down poem. She gets to explain the meaning of it. She gets to explain the meaning of it while making herself look like a literary genius in MC's eyes. To MC in the process. She gets to explain the meaning of it while also type that since I think that just flows better. She gets to explain the meaning of it while also making herself look like a literary genius to MC in the process. So there we go. The best case for Yuri having social anxiety is when she gets overwhelmed at the thought of reciting poetry in front of... Oh, that's why I have this here. Still here, just gonna be lurking. All right, Kian, that's what's up. You're a genius. So the next thing I am about to say may sound odd. Oh my goodness, Dicky Cho balling out in the chat today. So much positivity. This is a lot of positivity to take in all at one time. I don't know how to feel right now. Becoming a YouTube member and dropping €15 on me. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. This will go into the editing fund. My editor needs to eat too. He's gonna be working overtime on this Yuri video. May sound odd at first, but I think it is relevant. Talking about Yuri. But let me cook for a second. The best case for Yuri having social anxiety is when she gets overwhelmed by the thought of reciting poetry in front of strangers for the festival. However, based on what we've already seen of Yuri up to this point, that notion just doesn't jive. So let me change this to at this point, that notion just doesn't jive. It is more likely that Yuri is just afraid of making a fool of herself and embarrassing herself to others. This would not only hurt her reputation, but damage her ego. Burn that faster than your calories? Hey, listen. There are a lot of people on this platform who make a lot of money for making subpar content. So if you guys want to give money to help support good content, I say by all means. I think that's something we should do more of. Now this means okay. Well, now I know what I need to do for the Yuri video now. And ASN and Nikisha, this means you get to watch all of the behind the scenes live streams, all the previous ones now too. And I'll make members only community posts too. It also shows how Yuri can be impulsive if she gets annoyed enough. I'm glad you say that, Black Matter 2000. I'm glad you said that, because we're gonna get into that when we talk about the fight between Yuri and Natsuki. But I'm glad you're picking up on that. That's very good. I'm glad you're paying attention. Damage your ego. But not real talk, just want to donate today because it's been a while since we've all last talked and had fun like this. This might show my appreciation for being back. Welcome back, Nikicha. Welcome back. I'm glad life has been going well for you since you decided to take some time off. You picked an interesting time to come back, though. I'm not gonna hold you. You picked a very interesting time to come back. But even still, welcome back. I sensed the drama from a mile away. That's fair. You know what? Fair enough. Yes, Xavier? I need you to open Days of Hate on stream and go to the comments. Now? Play Where's Waldo? All right. All right, we're gonna take a small break. We're gonna take a small break, I suppose. We're gonna go. So if we type Doki Doki Days, scroll down. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Days. So what am I looking? What am I looking for exactly? So here we have Toffees. Hello, Toffees again. We have one of Days' strongest warriors right here. Oh, never mind. His comment's still there. Okay. Was this who you're referring to? Yeah, YouTube be bugging out sometimes. But was this who you were referring to, Xavier? I guess so, based on what you were saying. I don't see anything else. No. Well, he's right here. And we have a bunch of replies. So YouTube was bugging. Back to schedule. Oh, you honestly thought he deleted his comment? That's crazy. I mean, as you can see, comments are still there. It would be a bad luck for him to delete any of those comments. I'm just saying. So. Let's see. Okay, now I remember. Shocked he bothered commenting considering he said he doesn't care for drama slop. He has a well, Xavier, he has a right to defend himself. Just like we do. Cook wants to speak his mind, then by all means, let him have a chance to. Speaking of, one may be quick to attribute Yuri's more curt moments to be attributed to her reading her books. Actually, no. This is exactly what I need. Exactly what I need. Observed in her books. I was skeptical on this because I was skeptical about this thought, but did not have enough information to contest this idea. That is until now. Put that there. And I'm gonna go down here and say this because I know that's fine. Another reason why actually no, I'll say the last reason. The last reason why Yuri is not socially anxious is how she tells Monica to mind her own business when she asks why MC is going with her to get water for the tea kettle. Yuri is very blunt and straightforward with Monica. Furthermore, Yuri does not stutter, flinch, or back down for Monica when she says this. This means that Yuri really meant what she said, is not afraid of repercussions, and is not afraid of Monica. Evidence to show that she even looks down on Monica too. Now, she does reflect on how bad it could have made her look afterwards, but MC's reassurance quickly snaps her out of it, and makes her feel even more enamored by MC. Makes her feel more enamored too. Oh, with. There you go. Makes her more enamored with MC. This is also evidence that Yuri does not need to be absorbed into her books to speak her mind, as Yuri was not reading for a good while before telling Monica off. This whole book thing is just a convenient cope to hide behind. Boom. Roasted. Boom. Roasted. Roasted. Insert Scott. What's your Raising Cane's order? Was it 4 tenders with the coleslaw, the cane sauce, fries, and unsweetened tea. I love cane sauce. It's probably the only real good way to eat fried chicken. Was there KFC order though? I don't go to KFC. I only went to KFC one time in North Carolina, and that was to have a chicken sandwich and cookies. KFC chicken sandwich is good though. The jib jig. Click DM if you want to see a funny. Alright, I'll watch that. I'll watch it after the stream is over. But now I get the context of the joke. So now we're at the raccoon poem. The only Raising Cane's in my area is 40 miles away. The only Raising Cane's in my area is... Actually, hold on. Okay, there are a couple that are closer to me than I thought. Okay, the closest Raising Cane's is like within 7 miles of me. So it's not that bad. Cane's is overrated as fuck in my opinion. I mean, that's fair. I mean, it's good. It's good if you're like close by one. Like if you're in the area of a Raising Cane's, then stopping at a Raising Cane's to get food is not a bad place. Is not a bad idea. But am I gonna go 40 miles to go to a Raising Cane's? Not necessarily. Popeyes is the GOAT. I love Popeyes biscuits. The clip of Yuri talking about how they're... One thing I appreciate about Yuri is how well spoken she is, but I think people take this a step too far. Despite Yuri being well read, you guys can see that she speaks like a typical person like her age would. Additionally, she is not above throwing insults at being childish. Yuri is a normal girl. you guys can start writing her like one. $80 a bucket combo? Astaghfirullah. Oh, hello, Mirik. Welcome back. I missed something. You missed a lot of fun conversation earlier, but right now I'm just working away on this script here. Sad part is sad part is I still have I just got to the end of the first segment, but this is a pretty big segment, to be fair. Half the video will probably be just this first timeout. Half the video will probably be just about talking about who Yuri actually is, and then the second half of the video will be talking about Act 1 Yuri versus Act 2 Yuri. Then when that's done, yeah, because after that, the why does this matter section is going to be pretty short, and then it's just going to be the outro. Oh, excuse me, chat. Alright, sorry about that, guys. That was... Phone call is now over. So yeah, the majority of this video is just Act 1 versus Act 2 and this part. So honestly, I've already finished half the script is pretty much done at this point. Let's see. Raccoon poem. On face value, it is clear to the reader that Yuri wrote this poem to tell us that she gives into the urges she has to play the wrist violin. She even admits to taking pleasure in playing the wrist violin. Why does she choose a raccoon of all things to use as a metaphor in this poem? Well, raccoons are nocturnal creatures known for their intelligence, curiosity, and nocturnal behavior. Raccoons are solitary creatures by nature, but can form loose family groups. They can be territorial and can be aggressive when threatened. Yuri is intelligent, highly curious, territorial of MC, can be aggressive when threatened as seen with Natsuki and Monica, is solitary, but is also willing to join the club and form a bond with MC. Yuri also keeps her true self in the dark, much like how raccoons do most of their foraging and activity in the dark. This poem is also interesting because it tells us that Yuri is one to give in to her impulses and base desires when push comes to shove. Yuri would be the most likely to give in to hedonistic tendencies should the opportunity arise. And you want to know something? We get to see those tendencies and lust for pleasure explored in Act 2. Let's cut in and see what makes Act 2 Yuri stand out from Act 1. And this transitions us from who Yuri actually is, and this transitions us into Act 1 to Act 2. So I've been going for what, 2 hours now? No, I kind of hoped I would have got more done in 2 hours. Or maybe I'm just underestimating how much actually happened. How long am I going to be doing this? I'm probably going to keep going for another half hour. And then I'll call the stream there. I think what I'm going to do is, so it's either going to be in the next half hour or until I finish the first half of the script, whichever comes first. So I'll just say that to give you to preface it. Which may just be doable, to be honest. Time will show. You are correct. You are indeed correct. Alright, let's see. Okay, I think I know how to put it. So far, we're gonna have a fade out of class. Yuri. Okay, I know what I have to. As you guys can see, Yuri has bought on her a picture. She is she's not outspoken. Thoughtful, ridiculous. Hey, Dilbro. Just saw the phrase on YouTube, lewd tuber, and I immediately knew I have seen it all. Xavier, what is a lewd tuber? I mean, I could imagine what a lewd tuber is based on the name, but is there like a dictionary definition for a lewd tuber? What do you think about the headcanon of Yuri possibly being on the autism spectrum? Specifically Asperger's? I don't think that's a thing, honestly. I mean, Yuri has a hyperfixation with knives, I guess, but the thing is, a lot of people nowadays have hyperfixations. I know people with autism have hyperfixations, but that's not something but just because you have a hyperfixation doesn't mean you have autism. That just means you have something you really like. I used to have hyperfixations as a kid, and I don't have autism myself. That's hard for me to say because as somebody who has a sister with autism, I feel like I should know what autism looks like when I see it. And even though it's on a spectrum, but even still. And considering my experience, I don't feel like Yuri may have autism per se. Yuri has a psychological issue going on with her for sure. That much I do know. What I don't know yet is what issue that is. You say Asperger's. Some people have said OCD. I know when I did my Sayori, I know when I did my video what people get wrong about Sayori. I was able to I was able to do enough research to figure out what kind of diagnosis Sayori has for her condition, which is atypical depression. I need to do a lot of research to see what kind of thing I could pin down for Yuri. And then we'll go from there. I'll bring it up into I could bring it up in consideration for research though, Blackbad. I will say that much. The VTubers that show Tatas like Melody and the others. And to your point, Xavier, about lewd tubers, well, Xavier, you and I both know that sex sells on the internet. I'll bring it up for reference, Blackman. Don't. But yeah, Xavier, you and I both know that we know sex sells. And you and I both know that there are people out there who love to exploit the fact that sex sells to try to gain an audience. And there are a lot of people who are willing to buy into it because of impulses. There's a reason why my character, why my V2 model is wearing a oversized hoodie. It would take a lot for me to sell out to become a lewd tuber, and even then, I don't even think my conscience would allow it. Now you're probably wondering why I haven't brought up her. Probably wondering why I haven't brought up. Probably wondering why I haven't brought up home. I wonder why I haven't brought up her poems. If even relevant at all. Any answer will be good. This is for all. I woke up this morning to some fun news regarding the previous videos I uploaded to the channel. Had a good lunch, and then been working away on the script after lunch. So overall, my days were pretty good. Everyone else is welcome to. Everyone else is welcome to respond. Wondering if they're even relevant at all. Much like I said in my video on what people did wrong about Yuri. Get Wong. On. Last 14. Let's see. I'll be right back for one last time. Alright, I'm back. Let's see if I can finish this. I just need to finish this last paragraph into the raccoon poem, and that should be it for the first half of the video. Thank you, Finn. Also, I thought you'd be in your internship right now. Is your internship already over? It started now, yeah? Oh, okay. Yuri's home. Give us hints on his I think there is no better place to start and to look at the right. So we have a transition paragraph to bring us to raccoon. And we talk about raccoon. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Gotta put that there. Now we're gonna scroll down. Raccoon, which we already read. And I think well. So we're gonna get rid of space. These are all the points I wanted to cover. Not shy, which we covered. Not shy, which we covered. Methodical, covered. Guards her vulnerabilities, which was covered. Particular whom she shows her true face to, we covered that. We covered Yuri being feast or famine. Covered Yuri having ego. We covered Yuri having addiction, not being a dictionary. Okay, so this section is complete. I think what I'll do. That. All right. Well, that cut down a bit actually. So let's see. So this is page 11. So this is page 11, right? Page 11 here is 6 pages. So, okay, so yeah, we are at the halfway point of the video here. Just going over this part right here. Alright, cool, alright, cool stuff, Okay, I'm thinking, Chad, I'm thinking. Okay, well. Okay, so now I'm gonna review the script from start to finish, see how it flows before we end up calling it. Actually, let me put on. There we go. Yuri. Our favorite maiden of mystery in Doki Doki Literature Club. However, I think the biggest mystery about Yuri is how misrepresented she is by the DDLC community at large. She has the least amount of character-driven stories when compared to the other girls. She has the least amount of character-driven stories. Well, I guess character-driven. I think character focus would be a better term. I'm back from making another abomination. Welcome back, Uncle Fred. Our favorite maiden of mystery in Doki Doki Literature Club. However, I think the biggest mystery about Yuri is how misrepresented she is by the DDLC community at large. She has the least amount of character-focused stories compared to the other girls by far, and when she is added to a story, she's either non-existent or mischaracterized to the point of parody. Doki Doki Vigilante, Fallen Angel, Convergence, and or Hardcastle Walls. So I went into another deep dive into DDLC to find out who the real Yuri actually is, and to see how far the community has missed the mark. By the end of this video, you will see who Yuri truly is, why she can't be trusted, and why Act 1 and Act 2 Yuri are more related than you think. So by the end of this video, we will see who Yuri truly is, why she can't be trusted, and why Act 1 and 2 Yuri are more related than you think. Hi, by the way, if you're new to the channel and don't know who I am, my name is... Who do people think Yuri is? Based on my 6 years of playing and reviewing DDLC mods, I've seen Yuri fall into these main archetypes. Uwu shy, socially anxious girl. The vanilla wallflower. The cardboard cutout. The preacher. Damsel in distress. Walking dictionary. Or the dumbass aggressive yandere. Some of these iterations of Yuri are better than others, mind you. However, after reviewing Yuri from base DDLC, I've come to the realization that Yuri is a much different animal than how she is portrayed in DDLC mods for the last 8.5 years, at the time of me recording this anyway. So, this begs the question, who is Yuri actually? For starters, Yuri actually is not a socially anxious character at all. She's barely even shy once you really you can barely consider her shy. Very matter-of-fact tone. Well, I'm writing. I basically wrote this I wrote this like how I speak, pretty much. The most natural way for me to do this. For starters, Yuri actually is not a socially anxious character at all. You can barely consider her anxious. You can barely consider her shy when she. You could barely even consider her shy. Okay, there we go. You could barely even consider her shy once you really observe how she moves in the base game. You can remove the and just say in base game. Or you can barely even consider her shy once you really observe how she moves in base game. Yuri is the first person to greet us in the literature club. This already is antithetical to the idea of Yuri being very socially anxious, as why would a socially anxious person be the first one to greet a stranger they don't know? In fact, the first time we see Yuri being, quote, shy or anxious is when Sayori offers an absolute of a compliment to Yuri, about Yuri to MC. Yeah, okay, that's better. Let's see. In fact, the first time I see Yuri being shy or anxious is when Sayori offers a really big compliment about Yuri in front of MC. In fact, the first time I see Yuri being shy or anxious is when Sayori offers a really big compliment to Yuri in front of MC. Well, that reads so much better now. We will discuss why that is in a moment. Yuri is a very methodical person. She likes to think a lot before speaking. This can be seen as a blessing and a curse depending how you look at it. She enjoys stories that have a high level of creativity and craftsmanship. Stories with deep and complex fantasy worlds that tell a good narrative, test the reader, or weave in psychological elements. In Act 1, she admits to getting into horror. However, for Yuri, it's less about the specific genre and more about how the story itself makes her think and feel. So in this case, I think Yuri would be really... well, if Yuri's into deep and complex fantasy worlds, then Lord of the Rings, probably especially Game of Thrones, The Hobbit, Dungeons and Dragons. I think Yuri would be into all that stuff. In Act 1, she admits to getting into horror. However, for Yuri, it's less about the specific genre and more about how the story itself makes her think and feel. Yuri is the type of person who enjoys being challenged by the material she consumes. Surreal horror is often very successful at changing the way you look at the world, if only for a brief moment. Yuri, while not being one to speak, is involved in many a conversation and will volunteer to give an opinion when needed. This again is antithetical to the community perception of Yuri being socially anxious. In fact, Yuri approaches MC and asks him what kind of things he likes to read. Yuri is quite opinionated and has no qualms about letting you know what is on her mind. Another thing about Yuri is that she is I'll make this a contraction, and I'm gonna bring that back. Remove the space, and I think we should be fine now. Let's see. I'm going to indent this paragraph. Okay, well, I didn't want to indent that. Okay, thank you, that works. Think about it right now with this project you're doing. I might come back to making mods soon again. Well, if you can find the time to do that, then by all means, go ahead. I know you stepped away for a while to focus on school and everything, but if you're feeling that itch to be creative, we'll welcome you back with open arms. Another thing about Yuri is that she's quite opinionated. So another thing about Yuri is that she's quite opinionated and has no qualms about letting you know what's on her mind. The main hiccup for her is constantly ensuring what comes out of her mouth is as palatable as possible, until it's not. Until it's not. But why people put Yuri in that part? Is it a good ask? The best way to answer your question, like Mirik, would be a lot of people do not understand who Yuri actually is, who she truly is. They have an idea of Yuri in their head that doesn't match reality, and they like the idea in their head better than who Yuri is in real life. Difference between old me and new me is I could sort of manage my time better than before and not rush things, so it'd be nice to give it a try with that mentality. Hey, by all means, give it a go. This this gives incredible depth to her that I think most people do not. This gives incredible depth to her that I think most people do not appreciate about her, and it shows in how Yuri is used as a prop or as a mouthpiece at times. The coolest aspect of Yuri's character is how she thinks and relates to other people. Yuri's entire character revolves around her selectivity in revealing her vulnerabilities and showing even the deepest reaches of her heart. Yuri has an entire world of vulnerabilities and quirks that she keeps under lock and key to prevent others from getting the wrong idea of her. It also prevents people from getting overwhelmed by her intensity, or scaring people away, or looking like a freak. One of the many fascinating aspects of Yuri's character is how she perceives the world around her. She talks about how she finds the story of Portrait of Markov relatable. At first, this comes across as a shock to the system. However, upon further reflection, it opens your eyes to Yuri's psyche. She is very particular about whom she can trust. She also questions if opening herself up can result in ruining her relationships with others despite how hard she tries to keep them going. She enjoys stories like these because, again, she enjoys being challenged to look at things from a new perspective that she never considered before. This goes to show that Yuri not only spends a lot of time in her head, but also is very observant of the people around her. She likes to study people to see what she can learn from them and what it may say about herself. This highlights how insightful Yuri can truly be, and her insightfulness speaks towards her intelligence that Sarah alluded when she called Yuri that Sarah alluded to when she called Yuri the smartest in the club. Man, that's crazy. Boo. Why are you saying boo? Why are you saying boo, Doki guy? Oh, scare boo. Well, you did scare me, so you succeeded. You're like, boo. I was like, boo. Oh, okay. I just got back from a live stream earlier. Who are you streaming with? Maybe I could go check it out. Let me see. Oh. Oh yeah. I saw one of those streams last night. Okay. Probably wouldn't. I just up exactly. Boldly find. Okay, so there we go. Yuri opens up to MC about one of her quirks. She admits to him that she has a tendency to ignore, for lack of a better term, the people around her with her thoughts, when her thoughts get consumed by books and writings. This insinuates that Yuri is a feast or famine kind of girl. She throws herself into something she is very passionate about and puts other things to the side. She has yet to learn how to control this part of her personality and compartmentalize the different interests of her life. What I find interesting about this moment here is that Yuri is self-aware enough to realize this. She can openly admit this to MC, which is huge in terms of opening herself up to him, and further emphasizes the point I made previously about being selective with whom she reveals herself to. And MC allows her to do this because he constantly reassures Yuri that she is fine just the way she is. Put that there. Could this need to be perceived as intellectual come from an insecurity formed from being compared to others when she was a child and often considered dumb? Mainly because of how hard she finds to connect with others without scaring them away. You're mostly right. I would say you're mostly correct about that, except for I don't think she was considered dumb as a kid. I think, actually no, from what I remember, because after I played through Act 2, Yuri said that she found herself scaring people away because she was too intense for them. So to avoid being judged, she just spent more time alone. So I do agree that her need to be perceived as intellectual comes from a place of insecurity, because Yuri is very insecure. But this is also why I talk about Natsuki, because Yuri and Natsuki are both insecure. They're insecure for the same reason, because of how other people treated them. The issue is, well, I guess not the issue. The difference between Yuri and Natsuki, what makes them interesting, is that Natsuki took her insecurity that was triggered by other people not being nice to her, and made an external shield around her by acting abrasive until people got to know her. For Yuri, she made her more of her shield internal by isolating herself and want to be perceived as somebody people could like look up to and respect. So Natsuki uses her insecurity to push people away. Yuri uses her insecurity to look better in front of other people. And I think her desire to look better in front of other people, to be accepted, manifests itself into an ego, in the sense that she could be very arrogant. Because that arrogance is a response to her being challenged by somebody else. And her being challenged by somebody would scare her, because that would give people a reason not to like her or look up to her, which is the exact thing she's trying to avoid. And it's better to be alone than be with a fake friend. No, exactly, Merrick. That's a great point. Which funnily enough is one of the main conflicts of the side stories in DDLC Plus. Yuri and Natsuki were talking about getting Natsuki away from her fake friends because they treat her so badly. But yes, Yuri's perceived intelligence and arrogance comes from trying to protect herself from people not liking her, which is something I bring it up here where I bring it up here when I talk about Yuri's ego. Yeah, I bring it up here when I talk about Yuri's ego, but I'm gonna go a little bit more into that when I'm gonna go a little bit more into it in Act 2 when I talk about this part right here, the big fight between Yuri and Natsuki. I have a lot to say about the big fight between Yuri and Natsuki here, and I think when I get to this point in the video, you guys will see how what I just said now will come into play here, because I think it's better to explain it when it's in action versus talking about it theoretically. But since we brought it up on stream, I'm going to make a comment here to remember to mention how Yuri's ego/arrogance is a defense mechanism to protect herself from people not liking her, as that is her biggest insecurity. This foils Natsuki's abrasiveness and her insecurities too. See, that's what makes Yuri and Natsuki such an interesting dynamic, because the way that DDLC is created, you can't have one character without the other. What is the music playing right now? This is Forest Interlude from Donkey Kong Country 2. Oh, there you go. Forest Interlude DKC2. So big fight, who win? Whoever win, like the winner depends on who you pick. Do you pick Yuri or do you pick Natsuki? That's who wins that fight. But I'm gonna make a note of that when I get to this point in the script. So thank you for bringing. So thank you for bringing that up, Black Bad. I'm sorry, Black Bad. All right, where was I? I was. Yeah, okay, I just read this, so I'm here right now. Alright. What the scene also reveals is that Yuri has a very difficult time processing her emotions and getting overwhelmed with them very quickly. Her shyness and anxiety is really her conscious brain lagging behind her emotional impulses in conjunction to her overemphasis on keeping appearance in the public eye. Now, this begs the question, is Yuri's brain lag a product of her mental load being exerted on constantly looking presentable to the world around her? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Show Yuri getting stuttered and flustered and what I mean by this is how Yuri gets flustered and stutters when she gets embarrassed or says something that makes her might make her look bad. There we go. Sticker Bush Symphony is a hood classic. It's just so calm and peaceful. See, that's one of the cool things about the Donkey Kong OST is great atmospheric. It's great atmospheric music. Now this begs the question, is Yuri's brain like a byproduct of her mental load being exerted on constantly looking presentable to the world around her? I think I might just take a world around her and not just leave them. But when the music is gone, well, yeah, that's why I try to keep the music playing, because it's hard to keep the vibe going when the music is gone. Yuri might believe that being knowledgeable in literature. Oh, here, I wanted to put this on. There we go. Yuri might believe that being knowledgeable in literature compensates for her lack of social skills. You know what it could be, Black Mad? I think Yuri, since she wants to be liked, I think she looks up to the people she reads about in her books. And since she likes to read books that challenges the way she thinks, the characters that are in those books are probably usually very intelligent and well read. So because Yuri reads those books and likes those kind of characters, I think she wants to grab onto, I think she aspires to be like them. So she'll grab onto those traits of like intelligence and being well spoken and confident. And she tries to be those things because she's not confident naturally. And I think she believes being intelligent will allow her to be confident because people look up to intelligent people, right? And they have a lot of confidence to them. So I could see that being the case, actually. And having that come from somewhere that makes sense based on the lore of the game. It's actually a good reason I'm streaming these things, because you guys bring up questions sometimes that allow me to consider things to add to the script down the road. Okay, sorry, I did that sentence already. When Yuri is opening herself up, she really leans into expressing her innermost desires both consciously and unconsciously. Considering things, not something the omnipotent JQ would do. I know, taking people's feedback and applying it to my own work, man. I don't know. I'm too arrogant to do that. I know everything. It's impossible. Opening up, okay, both consciously and unconsciously. One really good example of that is the reading scene she has with MC. The reading scene with the chocolates is more evidence for Yuri having feelings for MC, and some evidence towards her giving into her impulses and desires, or desires and impulses. Yes, Doki guy, I put on Sticker Brush Symphony since you brought it up earlier. I mean, it was playing the whole time, but we need to wait for the main melody to kick in. Oh, the way she pushes physical boundaries with MC, and how naturally she took to being fed by MC. Instinctively, she wants him. But emotionally, she's trying to figure out how MC feels about her, and trying not to jump the gun. However, since MC does not know what he is doing, it's giving Yuri confusing signals. I guess I should just say mixed signals. That would feel more natural. Or can we just sit and watch how the script is what we're going to watch is created? This is that feeling is great. Well, I'm glad you guys are enjoying the experience of me just sitting down and writing a script. It also just allows me to make more content in general, because otherwise I'd just be sitting in my room doing this by myself. At least I get to share this experience with you guys. Despite this, Yuri has occurred. Oh no. However, since MC, I'm going to change this to doesn't. Since MC doesn't know what he's doing, it's giving Yuri mixed signals. Despite this, Yuri is encouraging MC to keep going and keep pushing the envelope. Ego. This is a very underrepresented / underutilized part of Yuri's character. Yuri has a tendency to always want to be right, not take it for a fool, or be seen as the superior one. Yeah, all ego, no drama. I mean, you are making it interesting, discussing with everyone about the characters, even helping understanding them better. Plus, the music choice added so much to the vibe. So there's that. Well, of course, I could never have a stream like this with no music. That would just be miserable. Plus, the music helps me. It helps me focus. Okay, in other words, Yuri has an ego. The first instance of Yuri showing her ego is in the first time everyone exchanges poems. If you write a poem that Yuri would like, then she will believe that you are as experienced of a writer as she is, and is very impressed. However, when you tell her that this is your first ever poem, then she gets upset and feels slighted that a novice can write something she was so intrigued by. As a result, she starts to pull an argument out of her butt to find things wrong with MC's poem. This is to reestablish her place as the one with the knowledge, and the one MC has to learn from. This shows that she has the capacity to look down on other people. It's very subtle, with the exception of Natsuki. Another example of her ego / looking down on others is her taking pleasure in MC missing the point of her already dumbed down poem. She gets to explain the meaning of it while also making herself look like a literary genius to MC in the process. The next thing I'm about to say may sound odd at first, but let me cook for a second. The best case for Yuri having social anxiety is when she gets overwhelmed at the thought of reciting poetry in front of strangers for the festival. However, based on what we've already seen of Yuri up to this point, that notion just doesn't jive. It is more likely that Yuri is just afraid of making a fool of herself to others. This would not only hurt her reputation, but damage her ego. Well, like someone said, a broken watch in one time will show a good hour. You know, it's similar. That's similar to a saying that we have in America. A broken clock is right twice a day. So I think you make a good point, my friend. She can be right, but is she? But she's not always right. She gets to explain the meaning of it while also making yourself okay. The damage you as well. Okay. So I can delete this now that I pretty much have this transition point here. Speaking of her ego, one may be quick to attribute Yuri's more curt moments to being absorbed into her books. I was skeptical about this. I was skeptical about this thought, but change did not. Didn't. I was skeptical about this thought, but didn't have enough information to contest this idea. That is, until now. The last reason why Yuri is not socially anxious is how she tells Monika to mind her own business when she asks why MC is going with her to get water for the tea kettle. Yuri is very blunt and straightforward with Monika. Furthermore, Yuri does not stutter, flinch, or back down. Yuri does not stutter, flinch, or back down from Monika when she says this. This means that Yuri really meant what she said, is not afraid of the repercussions, and is not afraid of Monika. Evidence that she even looks down at Monika too. Now she does reflect on how bad it could have made her look afterwards, but MC's reassurance quickly snaps her out of it and makes her feel better. It makes her feel even more enamored with MC. This is also evidence that Yuri does not need to be absorbed into her books to speak her mind, as Yuri was not reading for a good while before telling Monika off. The whole book thing is just a convenient cope to hide behind. Oh, maybe cope's not the right word. Shield. It's a convenient shield to hide behind. Excuse me. Boom. Roasted. You show close to your walking. Okay. One thing I appreciate about Yuri is how well spoken she is. But I think people take this a step too far. Despite Yuri being well read, you guys can see that she speaks like a typical person her age would. Additionally, she is not above throwing insults and being childish. Yuri is a normal girl. Yuri is a normal girl, you guys. You can start writing her like one. As you guys could see, Yuri has a lot going on for her as a character. She's thoughtful, meticulous, kind, yet bold, and has an ego to her. Now, you're probably wondering why I haven't brought up her poems, or if they are even relevant at all. Well, much like I said in my video, What People Get Wrong About Sayori, at the top right corner of the screen, Yuri's poems indeed give us insight to how she is and what she thinks. There we go. Gives us insight on who she is and what she thinks. I think there's no better place to start than to look at the poem Raccoon. On face value, it is clear to the reader that Yuri wrote this poem to tell us that she gives into the urges she has to play the wrist violin. Yo, my man Derpy Patches, long time no see, family. Finally caught a live stream. You were a VC the other day when we were having the Days of Hate watch party, but I didn't get a chance to really talk to you. I'm glad you're finally here though. On face value, it is clear to the reader that Yuri wrote this poem to tell us that she gives into the urges she has to play the wrist violin. On face value, it is clear to the reader that Yuri wrote this poem to tell us she gives into the urges to play the wrist violin. She even admits to taking pleasure in playing the wrist violin. But why did she choose a raccoon of all things to use as a metaphor in this poem? To play the wrist violin is crazy. Well, it's a much more PG way to describe the action. You know, got to keep things a little YouTube friendly. You know, you can't always trust YouTube to do their job. So, as a content creator, you have a responsibility to make sure that your content is safe for the audience that you're catering to. Oh, hello, Brandon. What makes you sleep better? I couldn't have said it any better myself, Beric. I couldn't have said it any better myself. But why did she choose a raccoon of all things to use as a metaphor in this poem? Well, raccoons are nocturnal creatures known for their intelligence, curiosity, and nocturnal behavior. Raccoons are solitary creatures by nature, but can form loose family groups. They can be territorial and can be aggressive when threatened. Yuri is intelligent, highly curious, territorial of MC, can be aggressive when threatened as seen with Netsuki and Monica, is solitary, but is also willing to join the club and form a bond with MC. I guess I could say form a bond with MC. I guess to be fair. One of the reasons Yuri is afraid of being disliked is because sometimes she has a hard time understanding jokes, like the time she missed a joke in the first part of Understanding. Okay, Black Bat, I have a question for you. Do you consider the side stories to be canon, yes or no? Unlike some people, we actively work to make our work appropriate for our target audience. Couldn't have said any better myself, Miles. Thank you. Let's see. Yuri is intelligent, highly curious, territorial of MC, can be aggressive when threatened as seen with Netsuki and Monica, is solitary, but is also willing to join the club and form a bond with the other girls as well as MC. Yuri also keeps her true self in the dark, much like how raccoons do most of their foraging activity in the dark. This poem is also interesting because it tells us that Yuri is one to give in to her impulses and base desires when push comes to shove. Yuri would be the most likely to give into hedonistic tendencies should the opportunity arise. And you want to know something? We get to see those tendencies and lust for pleasure explored in Act 2. Let's cut in and see what makes Act 2 Yuri stand out from Act 1. Good grief, it's already almost 5. Alright, that's the first half of the script pretty much done. I like how this flows, I like how it reads. So on Friday I'm gonna come and come back early and see if I can't finish the rest of this. As of now, I'm gonna go get something to drink and then enjoy the rest of my evening. So Not sleepy? No, I'm just ready to call it for today. I think I had a productive enough work day today, so I want to thank you guys for watching, and I want to thank Nikicha and ASN for becoming YouTube members. If you guys like the content and you want to support the channel as well as watch the other behind the scenes live streams I've already done for working on this project, then be sure that you could also become a YouTube member and see the other live streams as well as participate in other perks that come with being a member and supporting the JQilin gaming channel. So thank you guys for being here. I'll be back on Friday for the rest of the script. I hope you guys have a good rest of your evening or evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you happen to find yourself in this wonderful world of ours. And take care. Love you guys. God bless. Much love.